Alright, I am back with another video, and this is another build request slash build concept. While I was working on my Draconian Warrior build, a comment came up asking to do a Red Mage, which, if you don't know what a Red Mage is, this is specifically the Final Fantasy XI variant, not the 14 variant, but the general concept is still the same. It's just the person who requested this build asked to do the 11 variant, so here I am. Basically what a Red Mage is it is someone who uses, in Final Fantasy terms, black magic, white magic, and martial fighting. So it's a bit of a Gish character, except this character also has a focus on being able to heal and use buffs and debuffs, as well as various elemental magics, in addition to swordplay. It specifically works in, I guess, both 14 and 11 as kind of a jack of all trades but a master of none. You're not going to be doing as well in every aspect, but you do get to do that little bit of everything. So I would love to say that this was fun to build, but having to contend with my nemesis here, which is the College of Swords Bard, kinda sucked, because I feel like I have a love-hate relationship with College of Swords Bard. It is one of my favourite subclasses in the game, it is super fun to play, but it's also just so powerful that pretty much most of the builds I make on this channel could be made better if you just took Swords Bard over whatever primary thing we were doing before. My Psionic Warrior build, if you made that a College of Swords Bard, you'd basically be getting a lot of the martial stuff while also getting a ton of psychic spells, and like you could mix that with maybe like a Great Old One Warlock or something to be able to get all the telekinetic spells that way. Like this, but it's like trying to build something different is really, really tricky. But I feel like with the Red Mage, College of Swords Bard just does everything, because Bard gets healing spells, Swords Bard gets melee potential, like extra attack and the blade flourishes, and then you can throw on a multi-class to get your elemental spells and offensive magic that way. So what I'm going to be showing off initially, and this is going to be the main build, is this College of Swords Bard version. However, if you're like me and are getting a bit tired of Swords Bard, I have some alternatives to show off later, so this is kind of a build concept video as well. So let's get into it. You're definitely going to want to start with Bard, because this is going to give us one of our main proficiencies, that being Rapier proficiency, because if you didn't know, Red Mages are primarily kind of depicted as using a Rapier, at least in 14. And there is a Rapier in this game that absolutely works amazingly with this build, so I really wanted to go with it. The person who, and I am going to state this now, the person who requested this build specifically built their Red Mage in their game in a way that let them dual wield Rapiers. In order to kind of stay in the kind of main light of what a Red Mage kind of is, just from the artwork I've seen in my experience playing 14, I'm going to stick with like kind of focusing on the single Rapier version. However, I will be showing at every point what you could easily do to get dual wielding proficiency. So I'm going to be showing off both. Like I say, this is kind of a build concept thing. But anyways, let's get into it. So starting off as a Bard, you're going to get a couple of things. You're going to get your cantrips. You know the deal. I don't think I need to go over this again. I do it in every video, but just to be quick, Vicious Mockery is your main damage cantrip. Friends is the best cantrip in the game. Moving on. Next up, in order to stay in the kind of Red Mage theming, you're definitely going to be wanting to take Healing Word and Cure Wounds here. These are your basic healing spells, and they do scale up really, really nicely, so definitely worth having around. If you wanted to take an offensive spell early on, Thunderwave is pretty good. Since you are a melee fighter, being able to have a spell that works well in close range is quite nice, so I'm going to be taking that here. You can also take any of the utility spells if you wish, but I'll show some other options this time because I always take the utility spells. You could go with Dissonant Whispers if you want to have that little bit of psychic damage. Fairy Fire is really good if you're trying to be a team player, which in Final Fantasy XI you would want to be. So you can kind of take whatever. I'm going to take Fairy Fire here just because it's a little bit different. Starting instrument doesn't matter as a Bard. Even though we're playing as a Bard, Red Mages don't really use instruments. I'm going to pick a flute. That's a nice sound. As for your stats, you're going to want to kind of build it so your charisma is as high as it will go. We'll definitely want to put it to a 17 here, and then use Auntie Ethels Boon to bump it up to an 18. I think that's just pretty standard for building charisma-based casters at this point in this game. As for the rest of your stats, I would definitely say you're going to want to bump your constitution up to a total of 16, and you can leave your dexterity at around 14. As for your extra 2 points here, I would definitely pump them into wisdom, just to have that little bit of extra oomph on wisdom saving throws, as they can be some of the most devastating throws to fail. You're going to get some skills here. Take whatever you like. Next up at Bard level 2, you're going to be getting all that good Bard stuff. You're going to be getting Song of Rest, so your third short rest, Jack of all trades to add half your proficiency bonus to all rolls. Really, really good. Nothing too crazy here. Also, no specific spells you really have to grab. I'm going to grab Dissonant Whispers here because I just like having that extra bit of kit. Next up at Bard level 3, it has arrived. The subclass, my arch rival, my nemesis, the College of Swords. Obviously, this is going... You know what College of Swords does. Do I even need to explain it? It's in so many of my videos. You're going to get the Blade Flourishes. This is how we're going to be getting our martial fighting prowess. Basically, all of these do an extra d6 of slashing and have various effects, such as being able to attack 2 enemies at once, being able to increase your armor class, and being able to push an enemy and then teleport to them. Extra, extra good. We're also going to be getting level 2 spells at this point. Take whatever you like. I'm not quite sure exactly what is the most on theme for a Red Mage. So pick your favourite here if you're more familiar with it than I am. If you're building the 14 variant, whatever you want to do. Again, just pick whatever you like. I'll just go with a regular old helpful, useful team spell like Hold Person. I don't know. I just quite like this spell and I think it helps out. Of a Heat Metal, Shatter, Silence. These are all good options. We're also going to be getting our fighting style here. Now, again, this is entirely dependent on how you want to build this, whichever you think is more powerful. If you want to stick with the more classic depiction of a single rapier Red Mage, you go with dueling. Now, I swear the tooltip has been updated for this. I didn't realize that dueling also works with a shield, because I swear that last little bit on the bottom of that text box was not there before. And from what I see from images and such, and like character guides I read for it. Yeah, I had to read character guides for Red Mage. This build had me reading, like, guides for a game I've never played. They do... some Red Mages do use, like, bucklers. So if you wanted to use a shield on this build, you'd still be perfectly in theme, and dueling will work with that. So if you want to go with a shield variant, pick dueling. If you want to go with a dual-wielding variant, which is probably what I'll lean more into in this video, actually, now that I think about it, you want to go with 2-weapon fighting so you can get your ability modifier on your offhanded attacks. So I'll go with 2-weapon fighting here. Next up at Bard level 4, we're going to be getting our first feat. Now, it's entirely up to you what you do here. Like I say, if you don't care so much about dual wielding, then you don't need to take the feat dual wielder, but I will be showing it off here actually. Basically, if you have a weapon in each hand, you get a +1 bonus to your armor class, and you can dual wield weapons that aren't light. Rapiers are not light, so you do want to pick this up if you want to dual wield rapiers. You do need this feat in order to be able to do this. But basically it's just a little bit of extra armor class, and you can kind of mix and match more weapons. So anything that's not got the heavy or two-handed properties, you can dual wield them now. And it's actually just a really nice little quality of life feature to have. Especially since we don't really need an ability score improvement at this point in the game, since at this point our charisma will either be around the 17 to 18 point, depending on if you've beaten Ethel yet or not. As for your cantrip, take whatever you like, Mage Hand is fun. As for your spells, take whatever you like. I'm going to grab Heat Metal, because I never really pick it up in other builds. And yeah, moving on. Next up at Bard level 5, we're going to be getting our Font of Inspiration, so our Bardic Inspiration now comes back on a short rest. Awesome, we have 3 of those because of Song of Rest, so this is just going to be like we're going to be constantly able to do our Blade Flourishes. And our Bardic Inspiration die improves to a d8, which is always nice to have. We do get level 3 spells at this point. Pick whatever you like. I do believe that, like, Red Mages kind of debuff their enemies, I believe, as well. So if you wanted to pick Bestow Curse here, it might be a fun option that I'm not really going to suggest on many other builds. You curse a creature with your touch. The curse either bestows disadvantage on saving checks, or disadvantage on checks and saving throws, or attacks. So you get to choose, I believe. Lets you deal additional damage to the target or rob it of its actions. So there's actually quite a lot going on here. So it's actually a nice kind of spell to pick up if you're not going to be concentrating on anything else. So I quite like Bestow Curse here. Next up, we're a total level 6, and we're a Bard 6, which means we're going to be getting a few things here. Obviously, the big feature is extra attack. This is where our martial prowess is going to be coming in. We are now a full martial fighter. We've got our extra attack, we've got our blade flourishes, we've got everything. Counter charm also comes up here. Hooray, I guess. It's not that great. You're also going to get another level 3 spell here. Take whatever you like, it really doesn't matter. You can go back to the level 2s. I'll grab Glyph of Warding here, because I actually I've used this spell a few times in, like, kind of casual plays, and, like, this is a fun spell to use if you know how to use it. So if you feel like having a bit of fun, pick up Glyph of Warding here, or if there's something that's more on theme, if you know what you're doing more than I do, go with that. So now that we are at level 7, we're going to be done with Bard. We don't need anything else from it, so there's not really a point in sticking around. So now we're going to be wanting... So we've got our healing, we've got our martial capability. Let's get onto those offensive spells with Sorcerer. I mean, you had to have seen it coming. Basically, any spell casting class that uses charisma, so like Warlock, Bard, Paladin, like... Heck, even non-casting classes like Fighter and Rogue can just get so much out of Sorcerer levels. Like, Sorcerer, because my last build, the Draconian Warrior, used Sorcerer levels to bump up Paladin, and it works so well. It's one of the most powerful builds in the game, because you just do those, like, massive level smites. It's... I can't... And, like, Twin Haste, and... It's really hard, like, if you go... When you're going a pure power building route, Bard, Sorcerer, Paladin, those are all your good ones. But I digress, let's keep going. As for your cantrips, load up on that various elemental damage. Let's grab Ray of Frost, Shocking Grasp. I'm going to pick up Firebolt here, even though I already have it. It's from my race, because this is a profile I used for a previous build, the Elemental Gish, funnily enough. And that would scale with Intelligence, so I'm just picking this up here for the sake of showing the Charisma variant. And Acid Splash, I kind of like it. As for your spells, I like Chromatic Orb here again because it's a way to do damage of any elemental type, so you get to stay on theme no matter what you want to do. Magic Missile is also good here, but you could pick up Shield if you want a bit of defense. I'll stick with Magic Missile because I like having the extra offensive option. Now, the interesting thing is your subclass doesn't really matter for this one. You can kind of go with whichever you fancy. You want that little bit more HP and unarmored defense, you can go for Draconic Bloodline. If you want extra storm spells, and maybe you want to focus on lightning damage, you can go for Storm Sorcery. If you want a little bit of extra challenge or a little bit of chaos and fun in your life, you could go with Wild Magic. There's some fun features to be had here, like being able to gain advantage on attack rolls and such. So pick your favourite. I'm actually going to go with Wild Magic because I'd quite like to... I think it could actually be quite a fun way of building things and just have a little bit of chaos. So yeah, we'll keep going. The next up at Sorcerer 2, we're going to be getting our Meta Magic. This is how we're going to augment our spells to be super extra powerful. You're going to get another level 1 spell here. Take whatever you like. I'll grab Shield here. We're also going to be getting our Meta Magic. Twin Spell, one of the best Meta Magics in the game, just behind Quickened. This is going to let you do things like Twin Haste, Twin Fireball, Twin everything. If you want to do 2 or something, which you will a lot, this is a great thing to have. I always personally take Distant Spell, but the second one can be whichever you like. I just like having that little bit of extra range if we're in a big battlefield. At Sorcerer level 3, we're going to be getting some more sorcery points, some extra spell slots, all that good stuff. We're also going to be having access to level 2 spells at this point. You can take Misty Step, Scorching Ray, all of these are good options. I'm personally going to go for Scorching Ray because I kind of want to focus on the sort of more offensive magic types, but I might also replace a lower level spell if I don't feel like I need it to take, you know what, Misty Step. But obviously we're going to be taking Quicken Spell here to be able to cast spells and cantrips as a bonus action by spending 3 sorcery points, because it is one of the best abilities in the game, and being able to maybe haste yourself and then do a bunch of fireballs after that, it's nuts. Go for it. At Sorcerer level 4, we're going to be getting another feat. Now, at this point, you have a choice. You can go for an ability score improvement here. At this point, we would have 18 Charisma if you did Ethels Boon. So you could bump this up to take it up to 20. However, we are using a piece of equipment here that is going to buff our Charisma to 20 naturally. However, this piece of equipment in particular will actually let you buff your Charisma up to 22. So if you wanted 22 Charisma, you could do that. Otherwise, you can give yourself a bump to Constitution to give yourself a bit more, a bump to Dex if you want a bit more there, a bit more armor class. If you're focusing on a specific element, go for Element Adept. There's a ton of options here. I think I'm just going to showcase how powerful we can make this build overall, and I'm just going to take the total 20 with the boon to our Charisma here. Extra Cantrip, grab Poison Spray if you want. I want to, so I am. And I'll grab Misty Step here as well for that extra bit of utility. We're now Sorcerer 5, which means we're going to be getting another spell, and we're at level 3 spells now, so, I mean, take whichever you like here. I'm going to take Haste, and I'll probably replace a spell. No, I won't, because I like all those spells. But you want to be grabbing, like, Haste and Fireball, or Lightning Bolt if you're more inclined, or Counterspell. There's a ton of things you can grab here. I'm just going to grab Haste, because it's, in my opinion, pretty much the most powerful spell in the game, if you know how to use it right. And lastly, at Sorcerer 6, which is our final level, we're going to be getting our subclass feature here. Again, depending on the subclass you chose, this might be different, but this one is Bend Luck, which gives you, like, basically Bless or Bane to anybody that you see, so pretty cool. And then, yeah, I'm just going to take Fireball here for that extra bit of spicy damage. And that is one of the builds I will be showcasing today. Now, obviously, I guess when it comes to the Sorcerer stuff, I've basically just done almost exactly what I did for my Draconic Sorcerer build, except for the subclass. The spell choices were pretty much the same, but the fact that we've gone with Bard here does lead to a pretty different build. So let's have a look at the specifics. So what we're looking at here is we now have our healing spells, we now have our Blade Flourishes, and now we have our offensive magic over here. All in all, this is going to give you pretty much everything. Like I say, you get the healing, you get the elemental magic, and you get the melee focus. So what makes this build interesting, though, is the equipment. I'm going to be showing the final equipment we're going to be using first, and then I will kind of show some equipment that you can use kind of as you level up, as well as some alternatives. So, first off, we will have the Birthright Hat. This can be obtained in basically as soon as you step into Act 3 by going and buying it from a vendor. This, like I said, will bring your Charisma up to a maximum of 22, so definitely good for a Charisma focused build. The Cloak of Protection is just here because it's easy to get in Act 2. It's just an overall good cloak if you don't know what else to put on. This is the Ball List armor, and again, this is an armor set that you kind of have to get by doing something that's kind of evil, but honestly, it's so good that I kind of have to recommend it for a build that uses a rapier. You get the Aura of Murder feature here, which makes enemies within 2 meters become vulnerable to piercing damage, which means they take double damage. Since all of our melee attacks are going to do piercing damage, this is really, really strong. You also get a bit of a bonus to initiative rolls, which is nice. I've got the Gloves of Belligerent Skies here, because since you're going to have a lot of options for elemental damage, including, well, I guess not radiant damage, but you can do lightning damage or thunder damage quite easily with this build. You get to use Reverberation, which has been fixed to become quite a powerful status effect. I use this in my Thor build. Basically, for each turn of Reverberation that you have on the opponent, which this inflicts 2 per attack, they have a -1 penalty to Strength, Dex, and Con saving throws, and then once they have 5 or more turns, they take an extra bit of thunder damage and fall prone. Really, really fun little extra thing that kind of fits in theme with like kind of using magic in a smart way. Also, we have the Evasive Shoes here. I use these on pretty much all of my builds if I don't really have anything that's specifically required for the build. This is just an extra bump to your armor class, which is always nice to have. And here's the main thing, the weapon. This is the Infernal Rapier. You get this towards kind of the tail end of Act 2 by making sure that you do a specific step in Will's questline. You gain a +1 bonus to spell save DCs, but here's the kicker. Instead of its Dex modifier, the infected entity adds its spell casting ability modifier to the attack rolls. It's also a +2 weapon. So this is the Pact of the Blade feature from Warlock, but on a weapon, and it's on a red rapier, so I feel like it fits really, really well here. So yeah, I feel like this is, again, you kind of get it towards the end of Act 2, it's kind of in like the final dungeon area, which kind of sucks. So kind of just use like a regular rapier and kind of get the most that you can out of that like 14 dexterity score in the meantime, but otherwise, if you wanted to maybe mess around with the stats and respec later, you can. But obviously, so with these pieces of equipment, you can get them in Act 1 or Act 2. These two come from Act 3, so I'm going to show off some alternatives that you can get either in Act 1 or 2. This is the... Oh my days. I really need to be careful of that. I didn't even realise. Oh, goodness me. Okay. So first off, we have the Marksmanship Hat. You get a +1 bonus to ranged attack rolls and thrown attack rolls. This does include spells, so by using spells here, you get a little bit of extra to your attack rolls, which is nice. Also, you can use the Studded Leather Armor +1. You can get this in Act 1 by completing a certain questline, and it's just a pretty good armor overall. It actually looks quite nice. So yeah, basically you can use these in Act 1 and Act 2 until you can get these, which are better. So yeah, that is one option for the build. Now, because the Red Mage is a build that does so much, right? There's different ways to lean into different aspects of the build. If you care less about the martial focus and want to have more of a mage character, you could drop the kind of the bard levels, because if you don't care about martial as much, then you don't really care about extra attack. So if you don't care about getting extra attack, what I actually found to be a really, really fun build was to go Fighter 1 just for the rapier weapon proficiency and like the ability to use armor and such, and then go for Light Cleric the rest of the way. Now, Light Cleric I think actually works really, really well for a Red Mage build. What Light Cleric gives you is access to a ton of healing spells, so you get to play more into the healer aspect, and Light Cleric specifically is going to give you some really interesting features. You're going to be getting fire spells, so you get Fireball, Scorching Ray, Burning Hands as part of your additional spells. You're also going to be getting Warding Flare, which lets you use your reaction to like I forget what the exact ability says, but I'll put it up on screen here, and like basically you get to use your reaction to do a bunch of interesting stuff that it felt like on theme with someone who was a bit of a like rakish swashbuckler, and it felt quite fun. So yeah, I feel like Light Cleric is a really interesting way to go. If you wanted a bit more like martial focus with that concept in mind, if you wanted to go the Light Cleric route, you could either go like Ranger 5, Light Cleric 7, or Eldritch Knight 6, Light Cleric 6, and maybe play around with the idea of like heavy armor and such like that. Again, I'll have text on screen kind of giving myself more work to do, sorry, editing me, but also kind of showing off like what the different possibilities kind of are. I also played around with the idea of maybe going, if you're going the dual wielding route, going Light Cleric 9, Thief Rogue 3 to get 2 bonus actions, wielding your rapier in the offhand, and then wearing, I believe, a pair of gloves that can give you the E2 weapon fighting style, and then attacking that way, basically getting extra attack in 3 levels instead of... and still being able to cast spells as an action, which seemed like an interesting concept, but I didn't really play around with it too much. There's a lot of different ways to do a Red Mage. Again, I'm going to have so much information on the screen, so I apologize if everything looks like a mess. But like I say, this was an interesting concept to come up with, but I most of my time making this build was just bouncing around on exactly how I wanted to build it. Did I want to go with like the charisma style? Did I want to go with the cleric style? Like, what was the best option here? And I do feel like if you're building a Red Mage and you want it to be as true to life as possible, and you haven't seen my other build videos, so you don't care about my hatred of College of Swords, then the College of Swords Sorcerer variant is absolutely the best way to go. 100%, no contest. If you do want to play something slightly different, then I actually think for Light Cleric variation, I actually I think if I had to recommend one, I would probably say the Ranger 5 Light Cleric 7 version is actually probably one of the more fun things you could do there, because Rangers give you some extra spell slots and like extra little features that make it fun. You could play the Hunter if you wanted to take the Colossus Slayer to get an extra D8 damage, or Gloomstalker if you want that extra opening round. Like, there's a lot of things you can do. But play around with the idea. Like I say, if you want a solid concrete build that fits the Red Mage theme, go with Bard 6, Sorcerer 6. If you want to play with some other things, try out and experiment with the Cleric options I provided. But yeah, that is going to be it for me. I've got, I think, 2 more build requests left to do that are in my backlog before I kind of hang up build requests for the moment and kind of focus more on themed builds or exploring interesting concepts within the game with my build concept videos. So feel free to send requests in still. I had a few people who were commenting requests, and I actually gave them kind of like quick off the top of my head build ideas from just as a reply to the comments. So I'm still wanting to engage with comments, but I'm kind of more looking for like interesting themes. Like if you find a status condition that would be fun to focus on, or maybe a certain piece of equipment that you think could be an interesting thing to build around, let me know. But yeah, I think I'm going to go over something as well quickly here, so I'm rambling a bit. Just more time for the combat footage to play. Oh shit, I still need to record the combat footage. You didn't hear that. I think I'm close to 500 subscribers now on this channel, which is mind-boggling, considering I think I had, what, 100? Maybe 120 when I uploaded the Dante video, and in less than a month, my channel has absolutely skyrocketed. Again, I just do this for fun, but I feel like I kind of have to do the typical YouTube shtick of, hey, you know, thanks for supporting the channel and blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Because it's awesome, and I love, you know, interacting and hanging out with you guys. So, yeah. But that is going to do it for me, so thank you very much, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.